Happy Sabbath! Welcome to Sabbath School.
Our memory verse today is, I will make promises to you, and I will do what I promise. Jonah 2, verse 9. Jonah was a well-loved man who was a prophet and a preacher. God saw he could do great things, and he could also be a teacher. God said, I have a job for you. There are people you need to guide. They don't know me or my commands, so by my laws they don't abide. Jonah said, Of course, my God, where is this I must go? God replied, To Nineveh, where the Tigris River flows. Jonah didn't want to go because he was afraid. Nineveh was an evil place where terrible choices were made. But Jonah left to fulfill his duties, a long journey he had ahead. But then he saw a boat on his way and boarded that instead. That's right, he ran away from God, not doing what he was asked. Nineveh was way too scary, so he ignored the task. They set to sail along the sea. He thought that he was free, but God sent a great big storm and he saw Jonah flee. The boat was in a lot of danger because of this big storm. Jonah knew what he should do, so danger there'd be no more. They threw him off the boat into the sea, thinking he wouldn't make it. But then a big old fish came along, saw Jonah, and thought, I'll take it. The big fish swallowed Jonah up, but he remained alive. He sat in there for 3 whole days, and that's right, 3 whole nights. While Jonah sat, he thought a lot about how he had run away. He knew he had to make it right again, and this time without going astray. So God had the big fish spit him out, and off to Nineveh he went. And when he got there, he had known exactly what God meant. They didn't know God and needed to be warned, and Jonah did just that. He taught and preached about salvation just as God had asked. He faced his fears and trusted God, which is sometimes hard to do, but when God asks someone to do his work, he always knows who he's talking to.
A long time ago, in a faraway land, there was a little girl who had been taken away from her home and her family. She was in the land of Assyria. She was an Israelite, and she was now a servant. She was the servant, fortunately, of a kind woman and her husband. The husband was a great captain of the army. The woman was a kind wife. Well, one day the girl saw the woman. She was very upset. She was crying, and the girl came up and said, "My mistress, why are you crying?" And the mistress said, "My husband, you may have noticed the sores all over his body." "Oh, yes, I've noticed those," said the little girl. "They're not getting better," said the woman. "They're getting worse. And if they don't get better, he can't be a captain any longer. We will lose our house and everything." Oh, no. The girl thought this was very sad, and she said, I know, there is a prophet of the living God in my home country, Israel. He can heal anyone." The woman looked at her, and hope filled her eyes. And she said, "In Israel, what is his name?" "Oh, his name is Elisha. He is God's prophet." Well, the woman, she called her husband, and the little girl went back to her duties. Her husband Naaman came forward. "My dear, there is a prophet in Israel named Elisha. He can heal you of your sores. That's what I've been told. Perhaps you can go there and see him." "It is a long way to go," said Naaman. But what have I got to lose? I will make the journey. I will miss you. I will see you hopefully free of this affliction." So Naaman called his servants and men from his army to come with him. And they gathered together, and they made the long journey. Many days it took. Finally, they got to the land of Israel, and they came to the house of the prophet Elisha. Elisha saw them coming a ways off. He came out of his house. "Hello there," called Elisha. "What can I do for you?" Naaman came forward and said, "Prophet, I am a captain in a faraway army. I have these sores, as you can probably see." "Oh yes, I see them all. Quite nasty." "Yes, well, I was hoping that you could cure me. Do you have medicine? Or perhaps you could say a prayer and they will go away." Elijah looked at him and thought for a moment. And then he spoke and said, "Yes, I think I can help. Do you recall a river you came by in the way here?" "Yes," said Naaman, I recall a river, if you would call it that. It's marshy and, well, it's not the nicest looking water." "Yes, that's the river," said Elisha. "Go back there. Strip down your clothes and get into the water and dip down so that the water covers the very tops of your head. Dip down 7 times. When you come up the 7th time, you will be clean again. Good day, good luck." And Elisha went back into his house. Naaman thought for a moment, and he shook his head. Going to go dip down in a dirty river? That's absurd. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to do it. I wish I hadn't come on this trip. Come, we are leaving. He started to go, but one of his army fellows said, "No, stop, sir. If the prophet had asked you, to do something very difficult. I think you would have tried it, wouldn't you? Naaman thought about that. So he's asked you to do something very easy. The water may not be nice, but maybe we could try. We've come all this way. Naaman thought and saw the wisdom in that. He nodded his head, said, "Yes, you're right. Let's try. What have we got to lose?" So they traveled on down to the river. When they got there, Naaman stripped down his clothes and waded into the water. The mud squelched between his toes. He got in and he dipped down over his head once and came up. Twice he went down and came up. Third time he went down and he came up. Fourth time he came down and he could feel the muddy water seeping into his ears. He came up. The fifth time now he went down under the water. He hadn't seen no difference in the sores so far. He was getting frustrated. He came back up. Now one more time he came. Sixth time he went down. He was really hoping, but nothing had changed. Well, he came back up. And now, the seventh time he went down, and at this point he expected nothing because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times nothing had happened. The seventh time, though, he'd hoped, with all the mud and all the dirty water and everything that he had encountered, that this time things would be different. Well, his servants had been counting and they looked on. They hoped that when he came up, he would be clean. Seventh time, now he came up out of the water. And he was clean. His servants ran over into the water and helped him out and said, "My lord, you are clean. The God of Israel has cured you." Right then and there, Naaman said a prayer to this God he hadn't even known, but Elijah had told him about. This God he would now worship from that day on, the one God of Israel, who is the God that we serve and love as well. Naaman found faith that day. We hope each of you children can find faith each day yourself as you go about your days. Well, we love you and hope you have a good Sabbath day. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. See you all next week. Bye.